Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the past and look at the ancient blueprints for our modern world. I mean, everything from how we tell time to the very laws that govern our societies. We'll see how choices made thousands of years ago are still shaping your life right now. All this is based on the fantastic work of Dr. Dileepa Wanniarachchi. So let's dive in. So, have you ever stopped to think, why 60 seconds? Why not 100? And who was the first person to think, hey, maybe we should write these rules down? Believe it or not, these aren't just random trivia questions. They're actually echoes from the past, clues left behind by the world's first great societies. And today, we're going to go dig them up. So here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at what I call the Great Leap, that huge jump from tiny villages to sprawling cities. Then, we'll visit Mesopotamia, the original rule makers. After that, it's off to Egypt to meet the master builders, and then to the Indus Valley to see some brilliant city planners at work. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by looking at the inheritance they left for all of us. You know, for most of human history, life was pretty small scale. We lived in simple little farming villages. But then something incredible happened about 5,000 years ago. It was a revolution. Humanity took this great leap forward and started building the very first cities, and honestly, our world has never been the same since. I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, you have the village life. It's all about survival, day in, day out. But on the other side, you get the city. And suddenly, we're talking about trade, wealth, specialized jobs, and impressive stone buildings. This wasn't just a change of scenery. It was a complete reinvention of how to be human, complete with rulers, laws, and the absolute game changer, writing. And this whole new way of living, well, it has a name, civilization. But it's way more than just building big cities. Think of it like a package deal. When you get a civilization, you get a central government, you get different social classes, you get organized religion, and you get writing. All of these pieces working together to create these incredibly complex societies that started popping up. Okay, so our first stop is Mesopotamia. I like to call these guys the rule makers. They were the ones who basically wrote the first ever operating manual for how to run a society. And believe it or not, we're still using some of its pages today. So where is Mesopotamia? Well, the name itself gives you a clue. It literally means the country in between two rivers. It was nestled right there between the Tigris and Euphrates, in what's now modern-day Iraq. This super fertile land was the absolute perfect spot for the world's first urban civilization to really take off and flourish. Hey, remember that question I asked about time? Well, here's your answer. The magic number is 60. We have the ancient Mesopotamians to thank for our 60-second minutes and our 60-minute hour. They used a math system based on the number 60, and that ancient code is literally still ticking away on your phone and on your watch right this second. It's even used in GPS. How wild is that? And how did they keep track of everything? With cuneiform, the world's first system of writing. These little wedge-shaped marks pressed into wet clay weren't just for epic laws either. They used it for everyday stuff, like receipts for grain and beer. But they also used it to write down the world's first great adventure story, the Epic of Gilgamesh. It just goes to show, as soon as we could write, we wanted to tell amazing stories. Now, their genius for organization really peaked with something called the Code of Hammurabi. For the very first time in history, the laws weren't just something a king remembered. They were carved into stone for everybody to see. That famous phrase, an eye for an eye, comes from this code. It introduced the radical idea that justice should be consistent, public, and predictable. A huge step forward. All right, let's head south to Egypt. Now, while Mesopotamia was busy organizing life on Earth, the Egyptians, well, they had a much bigger ambition. They wanted to engineer a way to conquer death itself. And their plan was to build for eternity. The Nile River was everything to Egypt. It was their lifeblood. Its predictable floods made the land incredibly fertile, which allowed this powerful and stable civilization to rise. And right at the heart of their entire culture was this deep, powerful belief in an afterlife. And that belief drove every single one of their most incredible achievements. And of course, nothing symbolizes that belief more than the Great Pyramids. These things weren't just cool-looking monuments. They were unbelievably complex, eternal homes, designed to be launching pads for the pharaoh's soul into the next world. It's a feat of engineering and logistics that honestly still baffles experts today. But see, for that journey to the afterlife to even begin, the body had to be preserved. It had to last forever. And that's where mummification came in. This was a seriously advanced, almost scientific process of preservation. It just shows you how central the afterlife was to them. It was pretty much the main project of their entire civilization. Okay, so from Egypt's builders of eternity, let's travel east to meet the master planners of the Indus Valley. Over in what is now Pakistan and India, they were designing cities that were so far ahead of their time, it would literally take thousands of years for other cultures to catch up. When you look at the ruins of cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, you find something absolutely mind-blowing. Meticulous, deliberate planning. These weren't just chaotic collections of houses that grew over time. No, they were carefully designed from the ground up, like a blueprint for a healthier, more organized way to live. I mean, just check out this city blueprint. You've got streets laid out in a perfect grid. Many houses had their own private wells for clean water. And get this, they had advanced citywide drainage and sewer systems. This wasn't just impressive for 4,000 years ago. This was a level of public health and urban planning that many parts of the world wouldn't see again until the Roman Empire, 2 millennia later. Now, Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley were definitely pioneers, but they weren't the only ones. All across the globe, other civilizations were rising, and each one was contributing its own unique, world-changing gifts to our shared human story. Take ancient China, for instance. The Huanghe civilization gave us a trio of inventions that literally changed the world. Gunpowder, which completely rewrote the rules of warfare, the compass, which opened up the world's oceans for exploration, and paper, which made knowledge accessible like never before. And then, halfway across the world, in the Americas, you had the Maya. They figured out how to turn tree sap into rubber. Yeah, it started with rubber balls for a game, but that one bouncy innovation was the ancestor of everything from the tires on your car to the soles of your sneakers. So, when you put it all together, it's pretty clear, right? Our modern world is absolutely built on an ancient blueprint. Their laws, their math, their engineering, their ideas, it's all part of our collective inheritance. And that really leaves us with one big question to think about. Thousands of years from now, when people look back at us, what parts of our blueprint will they see all around them?